In this lecture, I'd like to talk about unfolding alternatives. Back in lecture 2, I think I talked about it depends upon the intent. And here in it depends upon the intent crucially in terms of you need to understand who your audience is and the way that you want them to experience the unfolding of the model. There are probably numerous variations, but two primary ways that you can choose to unfold the model. You can choose to unfold it loop by loop so that you would unfold the R1 loop and then you'd unfold the B2 loop sort of together all at once. Or you would unfold it piece by piece by piece. And it depends upon the the level of understanding, I think, that you're trying to convey to the users about the individual pieces, so that is it the individual pieces, the relationships between the pieces that you want them to understand, or is it the implication of a collective group of pieces that you want them to understand? And sometimes it's both, so that you might unfold this loop piece by piece, talking about the savings account, and then periodically the principal interacts with the interest to create interest, and then the interest is added to the savings account to increase it, and as a result of those interactions, it produces a reinforcing loop that promotes exponential growth. So that in that way, you would talk about the individual pieces, and then you would talk about the implication of those pieces together. As a couple of examples, here's one called the bird feeder dilemma, which I unfold piece by piece because I want the audience to get a sense of the implications of the individual relationships as the story is told piece by piece, so that they get a sense of the implications associated with thinking about things, or in this case, not thinking about things ahead of time and actually becoming the victim of their lack of thought before they decide to do something. Another alternative is this one, business and its customers, wherein I unfold it beginning at a loop and talk about the nature of this loop, and then I add another loop to it and talk about how that loop relates to the first loop and the implication of a portion of that loop back to the first loop, and adding another loop and another implication, and then finally talking about the intersection of the loops and a set of interactions that is sort of threaded across multiple loops that stabilizes the situation. So this is what I thought was an appropriate approach for talking about that particular model to the audience that I presented it to. Another one I have talks about the Twitter community growth and how it begins and it builds based upon users communicating with new potential users, and how the community grows and the implications of that growth, and how users become disillusioned because of a service level, and how the stories of service level promotes new users and develops the potential user community, and it's a set of interactions, and it was unfolded loop by loop by loop. And I didn't go through these slow enough so that you could read all of the text associated with it. That was not the intent. It was simply to give you a sense that there's different ways that you can choose to unfold the model, and you need to think about what it is that you're trying to convey and figure out the best way for you to unfold your model to the intended audience. And oftentimes I have found that I'll decide that this is the way that I ought to unfold, and I unfold it to a couple of people, and based upon the feedback I realize that I need to go back and make some alterations to the way that it's unfolded, because I could change some things and it would end up being much more meaningful to the audience. So it's some more of that trial and learning that I continue to harp on an ongoing basis. So look at your model, understand what you believe to be the purpose of the model, and how is the best way to unfold or tell a story about that model to the audience that you want to convey the insights to. And then try it, test it, and adjust as appropriate. Hope you found this meaningful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.